Alright, man, so we just got back from playing Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn? Question mark? I don't remember, and I don't care. So anyways, as I would reword this game, this is Flintspoken, The Siege of Frey, Holland. And why do I say that, you ask? Well, you see, this game is practically the same game based on themes. When we look at a game like Forspoken, we look at the characters that they present to us. Now, Forspoken was worse in the writing than Flintlock. Okay, Flintlock is just boring woke. That's what this game is. One more time, it is boring woke. Okay, Forspoken was laughably bad in so many ways. You just think about it. It was so ideological, right? Female here, diverse female there, women in power here, women in power there. They were doing it all over, and it had to be black women, of course. But you were looking all over the place, and it's like, man, this is just laughable, cringy, face-palmy, freaking levels of wokeness. Well, now, you look at freaking Flintlock. This game comes out. When I saw it during the one of the presentation showcases, I forget which one it was, don't care. Well, it just looked boring. It looked uninspired. I didn't care about it. It was just like, why? Why is it here? But okay. And so the game comes out. We have a female protagonist. She has a very undesirable body, no breasts, no frickin' anus, basically built like a man who's kind of a woman. Okay, she's not attractive, not interested, not touching that. The game opens with a female field marshal with the technology level of like the Revolutionary War or Civil War, whatever. Outfits, by the way, that a bunch of white men wore. Gee, that deconstructionism, it's really settling in deep, and I love it. I love looking at these women and all these brave and beautiful diverse people of every other color besides whites, fighting in revolutionary garb and garments, for some reason wearing what a bunch of white dudes once wore. For some reason, whatever defined white men once upon a time, well, now it also has to define black people, colored people, brown people, turquoise, purple, yellow, whatever people there are that exist. If we find frickin' aliens on frickin' Mars, we'll bring them down and we'll say, hey, you were a samurai once, right? Yes, we're gonna do that. So anyways, yes, the game is freaking woke. Yes, it's freaking stupid. I didn't really pay attention to this, but something that I guess after the fact I realized, you have a lot of the freaking peon soldiers. These guys are, for one, of course, they're of a different race than white for the large part, but also they're the main enemy that you fight. But then when you fight these dudes in freaking clad armor, they're these bulking men with maces and swords, and it's like, gee, like these guys are the next level beyond the peon soldiers. Something interesting that you notice is, well, they sound like women. They sound like women. What the frick? I don't know what's going on, but okay, so apparently the bulking soldiers, the hulking men of men, they're women, okay, or they're men who sound like women. Okay, bro. So anyways, this game is basically what? This game is Flintspoken. It is not Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn. This is Flintspoken, The Siege of Frey, Holland. That is what this is, okay? Just get it through your head. Flintspoken, The Siege of Frey, Holland, okay? So anyways, you know that guy in Forspoken? That inanimate object who is this kind of weird embodiment of the white male's past that I guess got overwritten, but he has to be this ethereal, powerful object. Yeah, you know Cuff, that freaking dude, this English guy, like, hello, Frey, blah, 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 blah. That guy. Yeah, well, Cuff, somehow, and I think it's actually the same voice actor, by the way, he finds his way into this game. okay? I have no idea if it's the actual same voice actor. Sounds like him though. And it's a fox in this game, okay? A freaking fox named Anki and basically what does he represent? He's a white English male inside of diverse female protagonist's head, just hello there, blah 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 blah, just talking throughout the story, okay? He just represents the white male English patriarchal past inside of diverse female's head. That's it. That's all it is. And it's the same. It literally is just an ethereal white guy. Same thing as Forspoken. Is one for freaking one. So I don't know what it is that they were thinking, and I don't know if it's like, are these the same writers? I could see this being the same writers because right now something I'm starting to notice with a lot of woke material out there, okay? What I'm noticing with a lot of wokeness is, and this is so interesting, is that they just make trashy games that pushes their agenda, and then they shut down the studio because they're not making any money. They were never meant to make money, because what are they doing? What is ESG doing? They're robbing from you. They're taking your money, the taxpayer. You work for your money. The government says, hi there, I'm taking that. Then they redistribute the funds. By the way, I'm starting to wonder if they're just taking white people's money. I legit believe they're paying attention to the demographics of taxpayer dollars. Then they notice, okay, so we took this money over here from a white guy. We're just going to redistribute that towards reparations, or we're going to redistribute this towards the illegals, or we're going to redistribute this towards ESG woke gaming. And that's what I sincerely believe it. For one, this is more sinister than just a bunch of freaking woke games. It is clear that this is money laundering. It is clear. A bunch of people have jobs. They're all getting paid to make a bunch of games that no one's actually supposed to really play or enjoy. It's supposed to push a narrative. And whoever they can win over to their political, ideological, fanatical side, that is what these games are made for. That is what they are. That is why they made Flintspoken. They make these games so that they can serve as propaganda upon you. Same thing with Still Wakes the Deep, by the way. Many of these games that have been coming out for a long time now, you know, Wolfenstein, Youngblood, go down the Ubisoft and pretty much all of their titles now, go down the list. It is very clear that they're stealing from you, the taxpayer, and redistributing those funds through ESG, DEI, all this crap, Bridge, all the names that they give it, okay, Sweet Baby Inc., Hit Detection, whatever. There's a bunch of names for wokeness now, and they're going to continue making more names. The point is, they're making these crappy woke games. They will always be replaced. They will always shut down the studio because it's not about the studio. It's about the activists. It's about the activism. It's about having enough money through the taxpayer to service and funnel it into these crappy products that grants and gives to you what you're not looking for as a customer. And that is what Flintspoken is. It is ideological propaganda that is being serviced through your taxpayer dollars. You're being robbed from by the government, and then they're pushing onto you this woke, hysterical dog crap. Now with this game, it is just boring woke. It's not funny woke, it's not cringy woke like many other products and games, okay? But outside of this, and by the way, I'm totally sure I just forgot one of the points I was going to make. Let's just keep going. The game's boring. I was playing the game. I get this thing when I play these woke games, this burning, like, insatiable disgust. It's like my cortisol levels are just freaking rising, and I'm like, holy effing crap, I can't take this. This sucks. I hate this game, it's not fun, and I'm playing through the game and I'm just getting more and more angry the deeper and deeper I go in, and I'm like, I need to uninstall. I am literally losing my mind playing this game. So I get to the point where I just want to quit, and I get to the point where this is not fun, okay? they add a lot of mechanics to the game, but feels janky, it feels kind of cheap, it feels kind of lazily made. They had ideas of what they wanted to do with the combat, and by the way, the combat really reminds me of Evil West, if you remember that game from 2022, which actually has a male protagonist that is actually masculine for once. There's other things about the game that I didn't quite enjoy that kind of turned me off. But you know, something I noticed with a lot of these modern games is that there's a very static and a very rigid and a not so fluid way of motion for the character. Same thing with Jedi Survivor. Like, you can sit there and appreciate the game for all the work it took to make the environments, to make the levels. I like Jedi Survivor more than Jedi Fallen Order. But at the same time, you notice that the way that characters move and the way that your character swings their attacks, you're locked in place. It's very static. It's very stiff. It's not fluid. There's no momentum. You don't feel like I can do whatever I want with my character. Like, even a game like, Witcher 3 feels more fluid than this. Final Fantasy 15 feels more fluid than this. A game like Metal Gear Solid 5, by the way, these are games that I personally have enjoyed a lot in the past. They feel more fluid than this. Whatever it comes down to for Flintspoken, this game just doesn't freaking cut it. And it's doing something that you notice a lot of. I love that I freaking call it Flintspoken, love of God. I don't care. Flintlock, who cares? It's Flintspoken, okay? I can't stand these modern games where it's so clear that there's something very, oh my god, and even, by the way, Star Wars Force Unleashed. That game feels more fluid than this. Again, there's so many games that feel so much more fluid, but like modern games, there's something weird about modern games where it's like they want to have this kind of like cinematic, I guess, combat style, even though past games were cinematic as it was, so I don't understand. But I guess a part of them wanting to make everything more cinematic with their gameplay design, now the way that characters fight and the way that they move is kind of like every movement has to be a part of a cutscene, or it's just pre-made or something like that, pre-rendered kind of movement. And that's why, again, it feels like you're on rails. It feels like on rails combat, and you pick, okay, I'm gonna move this way, I'm gonna move that way, but I can't actually really move my character. It's so weird, it feels so stiff, and again, that's one of my biggest issues with like the Jedi Survivor combat system, movement system. It doesn't feel like a game, for instance, like Elden Ring, and even though it's a lot more simplistic, you feel like you have a lot more control over the movement of your character, kind of. Again, it's not really that elaborate, but even a game like that, it's not that elaborate, but there's something super stiff. And I still have not yet come down to what I really think it is. I have said it, it feels like it is on rails, but there's something more going on here. I don't get it. Anyways, the world building sucks, okay? The sense of the world that you're thrown into, they want you to think that it's expansive and it's large, but it's like there's nothing really going on. There's these higher and lesser gods. They don't really develop that for a long time in the game. There's so much needless dialogue in this game that doesn't build the world. It doesn't build compelling characterization. It doesn't do anything that good writing is meant to do. All it does is bore you. And I literally from the start of the game, I got so freaking bored, so fed up with characters talking. Every time you pay attention to them talk, you're like, oh my gosh, this is female writing. Hold up, on the spot. Actually, screw this, bro. We're on the spot of the freaking review. Let's just look up writers for Flintspoken. No, it's not that. But writers for Flintlock, Siege of Dawn. Oh my gosh, it's not even gonna show me. What is it? Okay, so the Siege of Dawn. Who are the writers? Olive. I guess that's a dude. Anyway, it feels like freaking female writing. They show on IMDb it's 3 dudes. Okay, well these have to be cucks then. I'm guessing it's 3 dudes. I have no idea, okay? But listen, man, these guys, they have to be freaking cucks or something. They have to be men who are basically women, because this just reeks of female writing. It's like, oh my gosh, this is written by dudes? Hold up. This reeks of female writing. What the? Okay, this is weird. And something I've noticed is that sometimes they conceal the female riders. They do that quite a bit. And I don't know what that's about. But again, and some people have been saying that this is a 5.1 out of 10. And it's 21 ratings, so whatever. It's not like that's really definitive. But top cast, it's a bunch of people. Yeah, see, I don't know. What they do is they conceal a lot of the writers. So there's no telling right now who exactly wrote. Oh, wait. Oh, never mind. I thought that they were the same writers for Still Wakes the Deep. Which, by the way, I think that game, too, was written by dudes. No. I think there was like 1 or 2 women on the team. And that game reeked of freaking female writing. By the way, what is female writing? Female writing is what happens when you have characters that just walk and talk and do things, okay? There's no freaking relevance behind what they're doing. Nothing matters. Nothing's important, okay? It's boring. It's lame. It's uninspired. As well as, of course, uninspiring. That is the number one thing that you notice with a lot of modern games that are right now being written by primarily women. But I guess these freaking cucks, they're the only ones that are left that can actually write and be hired for these games. So now effectively we have a bunch of men now writing like women. Again, go look at the men who were overwhelmingly working on games a good time ago. Go look at the freaking writers that we once had. Look at the stories we once had. They were better than this. Now, some of them, they got boring. They got stale at certain points. Listen, most people are not built to be writers. They're not good at writing. That's just a simple fact. You know, you had a couple of gems even throughout a heap of trash, or not really a heap of trash, but right, you would have these games where it's like most of the time the story's not really that engaging, but you had good moments. And for the rough part, you had at least passable characterization and sexy women, by the way, love of God. Even something as obscure as Jack and Daxter used to have just sexy chicks, okay? And wasn't that made by Naughty Dog? And, you know, Naughty Dog, they used to make attractive women in their games. Chloe, Elena, then they uglified them a little bit for Uncharted 4, blah, blah, blah. That whole thing. Yeah, it's freaking upsetting. But listen, male writers, male game developers, they used to do a better job, and nowadays we're not hiring the best, and nowadays we have the worst of the worst. And you know, it was when I was playing Flintspoken, I was like, I don't want to play this game. I don't want to be here. I literally, like, these are the games that make me sit here and say, I want to quit gaming. It's not worth it anymore. Now, of course, what I just do, I played the first hour of the game, and then I couldn't take it anymore. I literally started skipping areas because the areas were freaking soulless, okay? It was just mountainous region, grassy area here, over there, blah, blah. It's the same generic environments. They don't have any soul. They're not filled with any ego, any possession of the spirit of anything. They're defined by nothing. And of course, these games, they're made by wokies, so I'm not completely surprised. But again, the environments are completely uninspired. There's nothing that defines what they are. There's no culture. There's no heritage. You have these super woke, diverse, androgynous populations. It's like, okay, are we somewhere that's Persian? Is this Native American? Is this Anglo-Saxon? Is this English? Is this Nordic? What is this? Nobody knows. Nobody cares because all the people, it's just a hodgepodge, racial hell pot, mixing pot of people. Oh, you know, you got random race over there, random race over here. It's defined by nothing. You don't know what the location is meant to be. I mean, again, you have all these guys. They're armored in like largely Anglo-Saxon armor, knight armor, or colonial white guy freaking apparel, right? These uniforms, revolutionary period kind of clothing. But again, you're sitting there and you're like, okay, but it's diverse people are wearing this. Why? It makes no sense. So anyways, dude, the combat was not that interesting. They tried to make it interesting, right? You can interrupt unblockable attacks with your pistol. You charge up your pistol by landing melee attacks. The melee attacks are really simplistic. I mean, it's just all you do is spam the right bumper and that's it. Moving around the levels is not that interesting. Their version of shortcuts in this game is kind of interesting with the rift portals, but who cares? The world is not interesting. The world building sucks. This game is worse than Immortals of Avium. You know, Immortals of Avium was a bunch of woke freaking tards taking themselves seriously. They made a freaking product that was dogwater Horsecrap, uninspired, not interesting, characters are ugly, all that stuff, right? But they had an idea for their crappy woke world that they created. Again, Flintspoken. There's nothing behind these characters. There's nothing behind the world. The characters, they say a bunch of generic stuff. You start checking out immediately. From the very start of the game, you're like, okay, I'm not interested. Okay, I don't want to listen to these characters speak. I don't know what the story is. I mean, I have an idea what the story is, but I don't care because I wasn't listening. And again, like, there's a lot of things I do know, but what does it mean? Again, I get one more time. There's a bunch of things I know about the game, who these characters are, like Anki, his alternative, apparently his real name is Ondashi or whatever. Okay, and what does it mean? Nothing. It doesn't mean anything. These are not visionaries. They have no business making the products that they do. They shouldn't have been hired for this game. They shouldn't be hired for any of these games. But this is what we're getting nowadays. We're getting freaking woke heads making us our modern day media, our modern day products. Do you really think I'm going to spend money for this trash? And by the way, apparently, nobody was playing this game when it came out. But again, this is all we have nowadays for gaming. There was a time and place where gaming was exciting, it was fun, there was interesting ideas everywhere. Everyone was trying something new because it was men making these games. Let me just run through a list with you. Gigantic, Battleborn. At one point, Overwatch was an actually creative idea for a game. At one point it was roughly, of course. I mean, Team Fortress, but it doesn't matter. At one point, Overwatch was a new type of game, okay? You have games like Evolve. You have games like Splinter Cell. At one point, we were getting games like Mountain Blade and Stellaris. I mean, how far ago now did Stellaris come out? That was a great game. But it came out, I think it was in 2015 or 2016, and yeah, they have some continued development for the game, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, again, how many new, interesting ideas came out a long time ago? You have No Man's Sky, which of course that had a bunch of issues, but you even had games like Sea of Thieves, and again, there's issues with these games. Sea of Thieves is massively woke and just boring, but you know, we had games like Halo Wars. Rainbow Six Siege was at one point, it was a new idea, really cool. Then that went woke, and then they never went anywhere past that. And geez, man, you even had at one point games like Dragon Age Inquisition, which is a different game from what we're getting today, and go even further back, because there's a bunch of games that used to come out that were way more imaginative than this. I mean, Scalebound. Remember that game? Never came out, but Scalebound, remember that? Listen, man, more games, oh my gosh, and Watch Dogs, that was a new idea. But think about it, all the games coming out nowadays, they're all roughly the same thing. And even Assassin's Creed has become more like just a generic action game. It's not really Assassin's Creed anymore. So like, again, and I used to love Assassin's Creed. I really enjoyed it. The last game I really enjoyed though was Assassin's Creed 4. But again, like Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, that tried a bunch of new, interesting things. I loved the multiplayer, actually. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. But I mean, like, nowadays, oh my gosh, Uncharted multiplayer? I mean, that's different from a lot of games coming out nowadays. But here's the point. Oh my gosh, hold up. And then freaking Last of Us multiplayer. Listen, man, games used to be more creative. That even aside from the main product, they would make these multiplayer modes that were creative, that fed into the gameplay loop of the base game. But games used to be creative. They used to have an idea. And you know, it's very clear that there was once upon a time that games were being made with passion. No longer is that the case. Games are no longer being made with passion. Nowadays, we're just getting the same generic crap. No one's taking risks anymore. It's a bunch of female developers, a bunch of female writers, all these freaking women polluting the freaking gaming industry, and now everyone's just derivative of each other. And by the way, that's what this game is. Flintlock, or as I call it, Flintspoken, is freaking derivative. The Siege of Frey, Holland. This game is massively derivative of a bunch of other games within the industry. And I wish that games were just more interesting again, but the simple fact is that really no true creativity is possessing the industry. And again, oh my gosh, just think of games like Rocket League. When was the last time we got a game like Rocket League? It comes out of nowhere, creative idea. There was a bunch of indie games, by the way, that were coming out a while ago too. At the start, somewhere around the start of the PlayStation 4 era. And now again, like, what ideas do we really have today? Everything's just rehashed, recycled freaking dog crap. So here's the thing, man. Is this game worth your time? Is it worth anyone's time? Abso-freaking-lutely not. It was a waste of time. I was getting angry just playing it. There's a bunch of other games you should rather pick up, but this right here, this is not freaking it.